Today, we're going to deconstruct a document that could literally reshape the future of an entire nation, the July National Charter 2025 from Bangladesh. It's a blueprint for massive reform, and it was born out of a moment of intense national crisis.
Okay, so let's dive right in, because to really, truly get what this charter is all about, you first have to understand the decades of political turmoil that made it feel so necessary.
You know, the document itself paints a picture of a pretty rocky road for democracy in Bangladesh. It points to these major setbacks, from a one-party state back in '75 to a military-backed government in 2007, and then the really controversial elections in 2018. It's this long story of instability and, frankly, eroding trust in the system that really set the stage for everything that happened in 2024.
And listen to this. This is a powerful line, and it comes directly from the charter itself. It's a confession, really. It's acknowledging this deep, systemic weakness. And that long-simmering frustration finally just boiled over with the 2024 student-led uprising. They weren't just asking for new leaders, they were demanding a complete overhaul of the state.
So you're faced with this huge, monumental task. How do you even begin to put something like this charter together? Well, the process was almost as important as the final product. It was specifically designed to try and build national unity from the ground up.
What's really fascinating here is just how methodical they were about it. Think about this. Before any of the politicians even got in a room to negotiate, they set up 6 separate commissions of experts. These groups studied everything from the Constitution to anti-corruption, and their reports became the technical foundation for the political talks that came next.
And wow, were those negotiations extensive. It was the job of a National Unity Commission to take those expert reports and turn them into a political deal. And to do that, they went through this massive consultation process with 33 different political parties and alliances.
And this wasn't just a quick chat over coffee. We're talking about 23 formal meetings. That is a ton of time spent debating, compromising, and just painstakingly trying to build the consensus that this whole charter is based on.
So after all that work, what did they come up with? What are the big foundational goals that came out of this whole process? What is this charter actually trying to do?
At its heart, the charter is basically a political pact. You can think of it as a blueprint, an agreement between 30 different groups all saying, okay, this is our shared plan for a new democratic beginning for the country.
The whole thing really rests on 3 main pillars. First, fix the fundamental structures of the government. Second, clean up the legal system by getting rid of repressive laws. And third, address the wounds of the past by making sure there's justice for victims of political violence.
All right, let's get into the specifics of that first pillar, reforming the state. How does the charter actually propose to redesign the whole machinery of government? We're going to focus on 2 of the absolute biggest proposals.
The first major change is a big one. They're proposing a move away from the single-house parliament that Bangladesh has always had to a 2-house system.
And this shows the shift perfectly. The idea is to keep the current National Assembly as a lower house, but to add a brand new upper house, a Senate. And what's the goal? It's all about creating more checks and balances in the system to make sure power is more spread out.
Now, this next one tackles one of the most stubborn problems in Bangladesh's history, holding fair elections. The charter proposes bringing back a version of a caretaker government, but with a new, very detailed process for how it would work. The idea is to create a temporary, completely nonpartisan government whose only job is to run the election. A 5-person committee with people from both the government and the opposition would pick a neutral chief advisor. The whole point is to prevent any single party from influencing the vote.
But let's be real. Getting 30 different political parties to agree on every little thing is, well, it's pretty much impossible. So even though it's called a national charter, it's really important to look at where there was total agreement and where some different opinions remained.
So just how unified were they on these massive reforms? Let's actually look at the data from the charter itself, which very transparently shows how the different parties voted on the key proposals.
On that 2-house parliament we just talked about, you can see there was really strong support. 25 of the groups were all in, but it wasn't unanimous. 5 parties still had different ideas about it.
But then you see this. When it came to limiting the prime minister to just 2 terms in office, look at that. Complete agreement. All 30 parties signed on. That's a rare moment of total unanimity in politics.
And for another huge reform, creating an independent commission to appoint judges, the consensus was again just overwhelming. 29 parties agreed, with only one registering a different opinion. This really shows there's a powerful, shared desire to shield the judiciary from political influence.
Okay, so this charter lays out this incredibly detailed and ambitious vision. But what happens now? What does this document actually mean for the future of the country?
And this right here is probably the most important thing to remember. The July National Charter is not a new constitution. It's not a set of laws. It's a political roadmap. It points to the destination, but the long, difficult journey of actually implementing it, of turning these ideas into real laws and constitutional amendments, that's all still ahead.
This quote from the document really captures its whole spirit. It's presented as the fulfillment of the people's hopes, a collective promise to build a more stable and democratic state, all based on this hard-won national agreement.
The Charter provides an incredible blueprint, there's no doubt about it, born from a true moment of national reckoning. But the ultimate question still hangs in the air. Can the political will that created this document be sustained long enough to turn these words on a page into a lasting reality? That is the challenge that lies ahead.